Hello, everyone. Welcome to On the Move, a show where we share transportation, sales, and marketing success stories. I am Jennifer Carpus Romaine, Executive Director of the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association, which is a trade nonprofit educating and connecting marketing and sales professionals inside of transportation and logistics. And today on the show, I have Don Friddell, VP of Sales and Marketing at Brown Integrated Logistics, who was just named TMSA's President-elect yesterday at our Elevate conference. And we are so excited to have you on the show and to have you taking on this leadership role here at TMSA. How you doing, Don?
Doing great. Thank you, Jennifer, for the kind words and the invitation. I'm super excited to be on the move and appreciate all the work that you're doing at TMSA and all the help that you're giving people like me.
Thank you. So you've had a long and successful career in the industry. So can you walk us through your professional journey and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. So I started a long time ago, won't give the year, but I was working for a local bank doing marketing as a marketing specialist with a really small team. We were supporting 3 mid-sized cities, but we only had a team of 3. So that's kind of where I learned how to do caviar marketing on a tuna fish budget. And it worked out well because there was a local logistics company that was looking for a marketing catch-all. I was internal communications, I was PR, I was advertising, graphic designer. They needed a little bit of everything. So fortunately, a mutual connection at the bank introduced me to this company back in 2003. The funny thing was they'd let me know it was a logistics company. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. The first thing I did after the call was Google logistics because I didn't know what it meant. So I spent 16 years helping to grow that family-run $150 million 3PL into a $620 million business. I was a marketing team of 1. My first budget was around $80,000 for advertising. Most of that was being spent on yellow pages to get Chattanooga warehousing. And when I left, I had a team of 3. We were using 3 or 4 agencies, and my marketing budget grew to about $1.5 million. So then I joined TMSA with the former management team, and things were going great. And then COVID hit, and at that point, I stepped out of the transportation industry for a brief moment to work for a SaaS company. And after a year of that, I was fortunate to be asked to join the Brown West Logistics team as VP of Sales and Marketing, and kind of did a full circle return back to the industry and back to TMSA.
Yeah, you've had quite the multi-layered experience here at TMSA. You were a member at that former company, then you worked for the management company, as you mentioned, stepped back into a member when you came back. So how has that been a journey with TMSA, being a member for so long, working for a management company, stepping out of the industry and then back in?
It's been great. At least everybody welcomed me back with open arms. It's like a big family. I couldn't wait to get back. So I first attended a TMSA event in 2004, and that was my first full year in the industry. And I didn't engage for about 10 years. And that was one of my biggest regrets. Just sat in the back of the room and soaked up knowledge like a sponge. After about 10 years, one of my partners that I met through TMSA convinced me to do a Compass Award, which is now a Trailblazer. And we won the award. I was asked to speak at the conference, and my entire speaking engagement was basically a shameless plug for TMSA and everything they had done for me. So following that, I was asked to join the board, and then shortly thereafter to lead the education committee. And then, as you said, became TMSA CMO under the former management team. But one thing a lot of people don't know is the year I took a hiatus, I actually drove to Nashville, since it's close by, just to see all of my TMSA friends the weekend before the event. And I couldn't attend because I didn't have enough vacation, but otherwise I would have paid for it myself and attended. So yeah, jumped at the chance when I could come back to the industry. And then my next phone call was, hey, I need to get back into TMSA.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Nashville, because I remember seeing you, and it was when I was walking in because I was a member first, and I was a member at that show, but my flip-flop broke. And I remember walking into the elevator, like, I need to speak with you later, and then just like disappeared. And then I was like, wait, like the next day, I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, that was so rude, but I had no shoe on. It felt so unprofessional, but it's really funny.
No,
But that was funny.
we don't remember stuff like that in
I
TMSA.
remember all of the things that I do like that, because unfortunately I have like a fair amount of those types of stories for myself. But with that, so obviously we knew each other back when we were both members, and then when you were at the management company, and after. And so that Nashville show is actually when I started talking about whether I should then, take the executive director role here at TMSA. And you were one of the first people I called, because I wanted to know what I was getting into, and what that transition from being a board member to association leadership, what that is like. And I really valued your opinion. And to me, I think it really speaks to the testament, like you said, it's kind of a family, people getting to know each other. You can really form these type bonds inside the association. So how have those connections really helped shape your career?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I told you it was going to be challenging, which I'm sure you've seen, but it is a rewarding challenge. The relationships I've built at TMSA are unlike any organization I've ever been a part of. I've been mentored, I've mentored, and most of the time that's been across competitors. What I love about TMSA, it created a space where peers can support each other instead of guarding trade secrets. The openness at TMSA is super rare. And I mean, I've heard that from so many people, a lot of our partner members and a lot of our member members. So I know that to be true. That's our culture. And I think that's what makes it so great, and especially so great for young people starting in the industry like I was many years ago.
Absolutely. So you have been in marketing sales for a long time in the industry. What are some of the biggest changes and shifts you've seen for sales and marketing inside the industry?
By far, technology. When I started, I remember talking about my first tracking mechanism for where marketing ROI was using an Excel spreadsheet that we called the lead log. And as a lead would come in from the website, come in from a phone call, we would log it into Excel. And then at the end of the year, we would see what worked, what didn't, what closed, what didn't. I mean, that was even before we had a CRM. So later we adopted a CRM and then marketing automation. And I mean, that just totally changed the game. In my opinion, it gave marketers and even sales a seat at the C-level table, because it made us more relevant. It showed what we were doing. It proved what we were doing. It got more resources for us to do more budgeting, or to do more advertising, to do more lead gen. And now I think we're seeing probably one of the biggest changes in any industry, and that's artificial intelligence. I can only imagine what I could have done as a marketing person of one if I had had AI back then. I feel like now, if you are a marketing department of one, you can work like you're a marketing team of 10. It's like having your own writers and your own team, and even people to take notes and everything else. So it can really help you to accelerate and do more things with less resources. So that's the biggest change, technology.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think even something simple like ChatGPT, when you're trying to form your thoughts, or like you can use it as a talking stick, because I'll be like, oh, type this up, and it'll be a bit like, but like less cheesy. That's probably my biggest thing that I put into ChatGPT, because I always feel like it's super like high on the cheese when it starts. But I'm like, no, make it sound like a real person, and then it'll do that, and then like keep editing it through. Like even simple things, or sometimes if you're in a bad mood and you need to write an email and you want to make sure that it doesn't, your personal feelings on your day doesn't get in that, like, make this sound nicer. Simple things like that can go really far, I feel like, for anyone, let alone in sales and marketing. But that kind of stuff can really help. So I agree, like when you're that one person team using the AI, you can bounce your ideas off of other people, but through the computer. And then being in TMSA, you then have this collaborative space of a lot of other people who are one-person marketing teams or two-person teams that are kind of going through those same challenges, figuring out what tools, what works, what doesn't. So it's really great.
Yeah, it's like having an administrative assistant, because I can just tell it like, hey, I need to send this email to a customer asking for a rate increase because of da 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 da, and it like fills in the blanks. And to your point, sometimes it's like, well, I need you to be more direct, or I need you to be more professional, or I need that to be more succinct because these people are not going to read all those words. And stuff like that I would toil over an email for hours if it was a touchy situation. Now I can knock it out in 10 minutes with the help of ChatGPT. So it's really changing the game. It's made me much more efficient, and I hate to say it, but much more professional.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's changing and evolving, and there's more things that you mentioned too, like the note takers, like having the AI overview. I mean, I feel like I'm in meetings all day, every day, and they blur together sometimes. And so having that overview, be like, okay, no, this is what I was talking about with that person, and just even like the next steps follow up, making sure that you are doing what you said you would do in the meeting, always great.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got another tool I use for sales meetings and such, and it will even, after the meeting, would you like me to draft a follow-up email? So it'll send a follow-up email to everybody who was in attendance, what we talked about, what the key takeaways were, and just things like that. That would take, as I said, 30 minutes to an hour. Now it's just a click of a button.
And I think utilizing AI in that form is really helpful, because I know there's conversations around like, oh, will AI take human jobs and things like that? But like, I want it to help me be more efficient so I can be more personable, so I can pick up the phone more and have real conversations, so I can see people in person more, so I can build those relationships. That administrative piece that used to, like you said, like this, writing this email, it could take hours because it was so touchy and I wanted to make sure I wrote it perfectly. Now we have these tools that can help us move faster so that we can be humans more. And so I feel like that is a really great value add if you're using it effectively like that.
No, that's a good point, because I've recently been listening to a sales training book or best practices, and it says that the only time that you are doing your job as a salesperson is when you're face to face with a customer selling. So anything we can do to make those non-value added, those non-face to face selling moments quicker is going to make us more successful, and ultimately get us promoted and where we want to be in life.
Absolutely. So looking over your career, is there a particular moment or a particular project that you've been especially proud of that stays with you today?
Yeah, I would say kind of touched on a little bit, but probably most proud of building something from scratch at my first 3PL that I worked at, and just taking a regional Southeastern 3PL that nobody knew of, and taking it to a top 10 3PL that other companies actually strive to be. I used to come to the TMSA events and I'd say, oh, I work for this company. And they're like, they'd never heard of it. And then later they're like, oh, I want to talk to you. I want to talk about what you're doing on your blog and what you're doing on this and that new content that you're releasing. So it was really satisfying to go from somebody that nobody had ever heard of, a company that nobody had ever heard of, to somebody or a company that people looked up to. And similar in TMSA, I remember back in the day when I first started going, there were all these CMOs and VPs, and I could name off a long list of names. They were presidents of TMSA and they were on the board. I'm like, wow, look at those people. And, pretty excited to say that now I am on the board and now I am running a sales and marketing department. So overall, I think just that transition from a marketing team of one to having a team, being a leader, being a part of TMSA and being on the board is probably one of the highlights of my career for sure.
Well, that is great to hear, because you are stepping into that president-elect role here at TMSA. And so I just want to give some guidance to people who don't know. So when you come into the president role at TMSA, you're actually making a 5-year commitment to the organization, because you do 1 year as president-elect, 2 years as president, and then 2 years as chairperson. So it is not a small undertaking or commitment when people make this decision. And so many of the people such as yourself have been on the board, have been serving TMSA for years and years and years. So to want to give back for 5 more years as the bare minimum is a huge thing. So it, not to scare you off, but you've already been voted and you've already agreed. So here we go. But what are some of your goals, some of the priorities that you're thinking about as you walk towards the presidency?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing is to have methodical growth, not chasing size for the sake of size. I really like the intimacy and the authenticity of our events. So we have to maintain that, but also while building enough scale to grow your staff, to grow our reach, and to grow our capabilities and our service offering to our members. Because ultimately, if we're not providing value for our members, then we're not going to be there in the future. And probably the main reason for growth is to ensure that TMSA is positioned to be around for another 100 years and to be relevant and to be talking about AI and all these things that are completely changing the world of marketing in general, let alone marketing in the logistics and transportation areas.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned before that in the past you co-chaired the education committee. You're currently co-chair of the membership committee. So you've been around big chunks of what TMSA is all about, helping provide that guidance for our educational track for guiding our members. How do you hope as president-elect, or as we move forward into your presidency, to support and engage members, especially those people who are newer to the industry or to the association?
Yeah, so I like to say no sales or marketing pro left behind. I remember what it's like being a marketing team of one and unsure where to go, where to start, having no idea what LTL, TL, CMS, and all the other acronyms we have in this industry meant. So I want to be there for those type members and also the members like myself. But I think the biggest thing that we can do as professionals who grew through this association is to give back to those newer members that need that helping hand, that need a mentor, that need to know where to go, where to start, what to do. And I want those individuals to feel seen, feel supported, and feel connected through TMSA and our mentorship and resources.
I love that. I think that is really, really important. We see new people coming into TMSA, into the industry every day. And so many of them are doing that on really small marketing teams. So, how can we engage? How can we help them? Those are all things I'm looking forward to working on with you over the next 5 years together in your presidential track. Um, so I know TMSA has meant so much to you over the years. Why do you believe organizations like TMSA are vital for professionals inside the space, especially in a market like we're in, where people are really paying attention to every dollar that they spend?
Yeah, I can just remember when I was fighting for every piece of marketing dollar I could get or resources. Tools like the TMSA metric study were just extremely helpful for me to benchmark what we were not doing and that we were in the bottom tier of spending, bottom tier of staffing. So I was able to use tools like that to be like, hey, look, this is what the rest of the industry is doing. We are so far behind. And really, $150 million company wasn't small, but they were still used to growing by word of mouth and reputation. And to really grow, we had to put resources in place and move things forward. So also the peer conversations helped. I had a lot of conversations with competitors at other companies, and there were even times when something, controversial would come up or GDPR would come up, and I could lean on those relationships, even though we were competitors. I've always said that it's kind of us against the big guys. So if you're a mid-sized player, if you're a small-sized player, we're willing to. There's enough of the pie out there that we can help each other and just try to survive and win. But I think when every dollar is scrutinized, that community knowledge becomes a strategic advantage for you and your company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think professional development is really important and your employees want to know that you're investing in them and so that they can give back to you and your company. And so spaces like TMSA, where you can meet the network, where you can get the education, where you can get ideas to immediately implement when you go back to the office, that stuff is crucial. And so that's kind of what Elevate is all about, which is this week that this episode will air. And then now we will be gearing up for Executive Summit, which will be October 22nd through the 23rd in Chicago. And that's our executive event that's geared towards what's going on for next year in budget season. So very timely, excited to get started or continue on with getting that show off the ground. So one last question for you that I ask everybody who comes on the show, but if you could go back in time and advise a younger Don anything, and this could be personally or professionally, when would you go back to and what would you tell him?
I think this might be personally and professionally. If I could go back to younger Don, maybe 5 years into the logistics industry, I'd first tell him to enjoy his hair because it's not going to be there much longer. But more seriously, this is a mistake I made spending 16 years at the same company. So I'm pretty passionate about letting young people know not to make the mistake that I made. And that's manage your career. You got to know your market value. Don't wait for someone to notice and promote you. You have to be an advocate for yourself. I spent many years in that 16 years, and the only times I got any substantial raises was when I'd get a job opportunity and they'd be like, we don't want you to leave. Here's a bump. And so at the end of my career, I was pretty much a VP with a director title, and I was getting calls from recruiters. And basically, I still remember to this day, I had a recruiter call and he said, Don, I hate to tell you this, but you've mismanaged your career. You should be making twice what you're making right now. And I don't know that I can ask my customer who is recruiting for to double bump you. So that was when I was like, okay, I've got to make some changes. And I made several changes, made a few career moves, and as well as fighting for my salary to get it where it should have been. But I encourage everybody, whether you're starting out, or it's easier if you're starting out because you want to start managing on the first day and make sure that you're getting paid what you're worth and you continue to that whole time. It's not greedy. It's if they pulled someone else into your position, they're going to be paying that person market wages. So don't stay in a position for 20 years and look back and realize that you're way behind on the salary chart. But I encourage people to use things like salary.com, Glassdoor, even ChatGPT. You can ask it, what is a person of this caliber and this career, what are they making in the industry? And it'll come back. It'll just like query all the postings out there and tell you what the job pays. So I just say, make sure you're getting paid what you're worth. And if your company is not willing to pay you what you're worth, there's one out there that will.
I think that's really good to hear for a lot of people. I think we get scared to ask for more or not know where to start. So utilizing those resources. And I think that no one will care about you in your career more than you will. So if you're not stepping up, if you're not doing those tools, those are even conversations I have with like younger people who are like, oh, I don't know if I want to work like a full-time job. I want to be more project-based, especially in like that marketing space. And I'm like, are you going to handle your own professional development in your career? Because like when you work at a company, you can get a lot of professional development covered for you, or you could put those building blocks together. But if you're project-based, they do not care about your professional development at all. They care about whatever project you're giving them that day. And so really putting those or like, do you thrive on like positive reinforcements? If you're a project-based employee, you're not getting any of that. Like and not all companies are the same when it comes to stuff like that. Some companies will really invest in their employees, make sure that they're being developed, that they see their path forward, they understand their piece of the puzzles. Others don't. So my career has been very all over the place. When you look at things like that, I just always wanted to be prepared for the next step. I wanted to make the decisions based on what I wanted for my career, not what I like needed to do. So navigating. It's important.
Yes,
For you. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Very
Well, thank
important.
you so much for coming on the show. And I am excited to, we've worked together for many years in a few different ways, but we will be now as the president-elect for a year, and then you will become president next year. So excited to work together. And thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Again, thank you for all the work that you and the TMSA are doing under your leadership. Appreciate this opportunity to kind of come full circle from member to volunteer to staff and now like a returning voice in the community. So just really thank you for this opportunity. And I thank you for the opportunity to serve as president-elect and to work together for 5 years.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.